The sons of God and Nephilim in Genesis chapter 6. Who are they? Hello, and I would like to welcome you to our broadcast for the hour. And I would like to bring to you this message. But before I do, read from www.times-prophecy.org, this article, I would like us to pray. Father in heaven, thank you that at the end of the Sabbath, we are still under your watchful care. And thank you for the messages that we have heard and we have shared. Today, may your people be preserved because we are living in the last days. May we understand this portion of the scriptures that many people misunderstood. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Our reading is from the page that I have shown you, and hopefully it will enlighten some of us. There are many professed Christians today who believe that Genesis 6 is telling us that fallen angels fornicated with human woman and produced giants known as Nephilim. They believe that the sons of God in Genesis are fallen angels and that the giants or Nephilim are the offspring of fallen angels and women. Is this true, or it is just another of the many false teachings circulating around the churches? We will examine the verses in question and use the only means to find the truth, which is the Bible itself. So let us start with the verses in question in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 5. And it came to pass when man began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of men was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Now, the very first mistake that many people make regarding this is ignoring the context. If we just lift our verses on their own and from the Bible, we will end up making all sorts of false doctrines. But if we take in the context, the truth will be open unto us. So let us do that with Genesis 6. Let us read the context and see what is being said in Genesis chapter 4. We read of how Cain killed his brother Abel. We then read from verse 17 the family line of Cain. In Genesis 5, from verse 6, we read of the family line of Seth, the son who replaced Abel. So we have two family lines, the line of Seth and the line of Cain. This is the context for Genesis 6. So it is clear that the sons of God and the daughters of men are the two family lines of Seth and Cain, which we will prove in this study. The descendants of Seth being the sons of God, and the descendants of Cain being the daughters of men. Look at the verses again above from Genesis 6. There is nothing there to do with angels. It is all about men. My spirit shall not always strive with men. The wickedness of men was great in the earth. God isn't dealing with angels here. He's dealing with mankind. This is so clear from the context. Now, if we look at the original meaning for the word giants in Genesis 6, the true meaning does not mean giant in a physical sense. The Hebrew word Nephil means a faller, a rebel, an apostate, one who has turned away from God. And if you look carefully at the verses, you will see that the giants or Nephilim are not the offspring. Look again at the verses in question. Genesis 6 verse 4, there were giants, Nephil, fallers in English, apostates, in the earth in those days and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old men of renown. Do you see? We are told that the giants, which really means apostates, are there before the sons of God. Take the daughters of men. Do you see that? So the giants are called not the offspring. They are the apostates from the sons of God who turn away from God's will and take the hidden daughters from the line of Cain. And then we are simply told that the mighty men were born of them, which were of old, from times past. So those who apply the giants to literal giants as offspring from angels and women are not reading the word correctly. Genesis 6 is simply telling us that the sons of God, the line of Seth, who become rebels and apostates, turning away from God's will and fornicate with heathen daughters of men, the line of Cain. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? Or darkness? Now, not as Cain, who was that of a wicked one, and slew his brother. And where the four slew he him, because his own works were evil and his brother's righteous. So the Lord banished Cain and put a wide distance between him and his father's house, so that his wicked influence might not affect the younger members of the family and their posterity. But when Cain's posterity began to multiply and spread out over the earth and came in contact with the posterity of Seth, it is said in Genesis 6, verse 2 and 3, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Review and Herald, March 10, 1868, page 1. Dr. Adam Clark says, Nephilim, from Nephal, he fell, those who had apostatized or fallen from the true religion. The Septuagint translates the original word by Yehavrek, which literally signifies earthborn, and which we, following them, term giants, without having any reference to the meaning of the word, which we generally conceive to signify persons of innermost stature. But the word, when properly understood, makes a very just distinction between the sons of men and the sons of God. Those were the Nephilim, the fallen earth-born men with the animal and devilish mind. These were the sons of God, born from above. Review and Herald, June 26, 1879, page 2. So you can see this has nothing to do with fallen angels mingling with women and bearing children who are giants. This is all about apostates who turn away from their creator. The sons of God, line of Seth, turning away from God's will and enter marrying and fornicating with the daughters of men, the line of Cain. Now, there is a serious and a valid questions we have to ask ourselves concerning this. And that is, what does it mean to be called a son of God? Is there any special criteria to being called son of God? Again, let us use the Bible to interpret itself rather than just make a fanciful claims. Take a look at the following Bible verses. Romans 8, verse 14. For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. John chapter 1, verse 12. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. Philippians chapter 2, verse 15. That ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world. Are fallen angels led by the Spirit of God? Have fallen angels received Jesus Christ? Are fallen angels blameless and harmless? No, they are none of these. So the sons of God in Genesis chapter 6 cannot be fallen angels. Genesis 6 must therefore be referring to the children of Seth who were led by the Spirit of God, who had received Christ, and who were harmless and blameless. But they apostatized, so-called giants, from the truth and fornicated with the children of Cain. But what about the sons of God in Job 1, amongst whom Satan appeared before God? Many people apply the sons of God in Genesis 6 to angels because the same phrase seems to apply to angels in Job chapter 1. But as we have seen from the verses above, the Bible gives a specific rule for being called a son of God, and that is only those who are led by the Spirit of God. So the sons of God in Job 1 are either representatives from the unfallen worlds or the angels of God who did not fall. Take a look at verse 6 of Job chapter 1, and you will notice something interesting. Job chapter 1, verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Notice how Satan is mentioned separate from the sons of God. This is because he is not one of them. Do you see that? Satan appeared among them, but was not one of them. This is because Satan is no longer a son of God due to his rebellion against God. The same applies to the fallen angels. They rebelled against God and choose to side with Satan. Therefore, they are no longer the sons of God. Who are they sons of instead? Look at the following quote from Jesus concerning the Pharisees. John 8:44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Who did Jesus say the Pharisees were sons of? The devil. Were the Pharisees led by the Spirit of God? No. They were led by the spirit of the evil one, which is why the Pharisees were not the sons of God. Instead, they were the sons of the devil, just as Jesus confirmed above. The same applies to the fallen angels. They are not led by the Spirit of God. They are led by the spirit of their father, Satan. And once you understand this clear truth, you will see that the sons of God in Genesis 6 cannot be fallen angels. Yes, the sons of God in Job 1 could be unfallen angels because they are led by the Spirit of God and can be called the sons of God. But the sons of God in Job 1 could also be Adam's counterparts in the unfallen worlds. You see, if Adam never sinned, then he would have been the leader and representative of earth. But when he sinned, he handed the dominion temporarily over to Satan. This is why Satan appeared among the sons of God in Job chapter 1. He came to represent earth, claiming to now be its leader. The sons of God he appeared among might well have been representatives of the unfallen worlds, but they could not be fallen angels. The above truth shows that without a doubt. Can angels procreate? There is another huge problem with the belief that the sons of God in Genesis 6 are fallen angels, and that is to do with procreation. Since when were angels given the ability to procreate like humans? To believe that angels could mate with human women and procreate is a huge assumption, nothing more. And yet the Bible gives a very strong indication that angels cannot procreate. Look at what Jesus said concerning the redeemed of earth. Mark 12:25. For when they shall rise from the dead, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels which are in heaven. What was the main purpose of marriage? To procreate after our own kind between one man and one woman. Yet Jesus clearly says there will be no marriage after the resurrection, which means there will be no procreation taking place, as we will be as the angels who evidently cannot procreate. Friend, God is the giver of life, not Satan and his fallen angels. God gave to man the ability to procreate. The Bible never says that God gave the angels the ability to procreate. So this is another strong case against the sons of God being the fallen angels. Psalm 104 verse 4, who maketh his angels spirits, his ministers a flaming fire. We humans are flesh, but the angels are spirits, which is how demon possession is possible. But to think that a spirit being can mate with a flesh being and produce offspring is more Hollywood fiction than Bible truth. And sadly today, there is more Hollywood fiction in the churches than Bible truth. And remember, God created everything to produce after its own kind, just as Genesis 1, verse 25 through 21 to 25 confirms. Adam and Eve were to produce after their own kind. The animals and all the creatures of the earth were to produce after their own kind. So for angels to be able to mate with human woman and produce another race of people does not fit with the model God instituted. So let me finish by confirming the most important point regarding the issue. As we have learned further above, to be called the Son of God, you must be led by the Spirit, or the fallen angels led by the Spirit of God. No, in 1 Peter 1, chapter 1, verse 11, we are told that the prophets of old had the Spirit of Christ in them. And in Romans 8, verse 9, we are told that anyone who does not have the Spirit of Christ is none of his. In other words, they belong to Christ and cannot be called sons of God. Instead, they are called, just as Jesus called the Pharisees, sons of the devil. Look at what Luke confirms, though, regarding the line of Adam and Seth. Luke 3, verse 38, which was from the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God. What was Adam? A son of God. Did you notice in the above verse that only Seth is mentioned as the son of Adam? This is because Seth replaced Abel in the Holy Family line through which Christ was to come. Adam was a son of God, and therefore his family line through Seth were also sons of God. These are the sons of God mentioned in Genesis 6. Those who were led by the Spirit of God. This has nothing to do with angels. Yes, Satan and his fallen angels influence man to turn away from God's will. But Genesis 6 is all about the intermarrying between God's people and heathen woman, and the result it brought about ending in the destruction of the world via the flood. The same lessons apply to us today. God is still calling his people to remain separate from the world. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. Look at how many were saved through the flood. Just 8 people, Noah and his family. This means that all of God's professed people who have apostatized from the true way were destroyed. And this world is under judgment right now, soon to receive its final destruction by fire. Will we learn the lesson? Will we crucify the flesh and its lust and be led by the Spirit of God? Or we will continue to be led by the lust of the flesh and be destroyed like those men of old? Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, offers us life. Let us surrender our lives to him and his ways today.